Just over a year ago, I made this video, where I talked about the sudden rise of the Polish Football League. The league that just 5 years before was laughed at and mocked for its low skill level, transfers that didn't make sense, and being shown around as way better than it actually was. The league that had plenty of beautiful stadiums and a huge TV deal, but couldn't bring a single club to a European group stage for 3 years. And now, in 2025, things did not just change. The league did not just change, it completely flipped on its head, and in a good way. Just a year later, what we've seen is possibly the single best transfer window in the history of Polish football. It featured transfers that even 5 years ago would be considered near impossible. Today, we'll talk about what contributed to what has become the biggest and most entertaining transfer window in the history of the Ekstraklasa, and also recap some of the biggest moves that only happened this window. Throughout most of Polish Football League's history, we are used to seeing plenty of players from abroad who came from all over the place or the lower tiers and could suddenly become the league stars. First example that came to my mind? Dani Quintana, an attacking midfielder who came to Jagiellonię Białystok from Spain's third tier and was instantly a star. And the Polish international returned, it would usually be at the twilight of his career, for the final 2 or 3 years of playing the game. But since around 2020, we are slowly seeing a change. Instead of Spain's third tier being a standard place to look for players, more and more players with Segunda Division or even Primera Division experience joined Polish teams, such as Iwi Lopez, who even scored against Real Madrid to Raków Częstochowa. And now, Polish clubs are actively signing players in the leagues such as the top tier of Portugal, Spain, or even the English Championship. The prices for the transfers also increased. To put it into a perspective, the most expensive incoming transfer in the 2015-16 season was Ariel Borysiuk, who swapped Lechia Gdańsk for Legia Warsaw for 800,000 euros during the winter. And the most expensive transfer from abroad was also Ariel Borysiuk, joining Lechia from Kaiserslautern in Germany for $500,000. And today, Borysiuk wouldn't even be in the top 15 of the most recent window. Of course, we have to take inflation into account, as the transfer fees around the world increased too, so let's go a bit lower. In 10th place in 2015 was Abdul Aziz Teteh, who came to Lech Poznań from Greece for 300,000 euros. He would barely be 35th in this window. Right now, club owners are finally willing to take more risks when it comes to making moves on the market, and there's a vital reason for that. We were comparing the current transfer window to the one from a decade ago, and we're still talking about a relatively good season for Polish clubs in Europe. In 2015, Legia and Lech both made it to the Europa League group stage, though both were convincingly knocked out there. Speaking of Europe, this is what I wanted to name as the #1 reason behind the chaos that's happening on the transfer market. Starting on 30th place in 2020, the Polish league was jumping a couple of places in the UEFA Coefficient Rankings every season. The rise began with Lech Poznań qualifying to the Europa League group stage and taking a win over Standard Liège there in 2020. In 2021, it was Legia Warsaw's time to shine, with a Europa League group stage. There, the team from the capital won over Spartak Moscow and Leicester, and would probably qualify to the knockouts if not for possibly the biggest crisis in the club's history. The 2021-22 season was also the time when the Conference League was created by UEFA. It was meant to organize more matches for the lower ranked nations who struggled to qualify for the group stages of the Champions or Europa League or were just demolished by giants there. And Poland turned into the competition's main character. Starting with the 22-23 season, when Lech Poznań qualified there, advanced through the group stage and went all the way to the quarterfinals, only narrowly being knocked out by Fiorentina. In 2023, Raków Częstochowa made their debut in the Europa League group stage, though they got knocked out on 4th. But the main talking point was Legia Warsaw, with an insane Conference League qualifying run, with matches against Austria Vienna and Midtjylland from Denmark, as well as wins over Aston Villa, AZ Alkmaar or Zrinjski Mostar in the group stage. They didn't get any further though, Molde from Norway was just too strong in the knockout playoffs. But all of that was just a build-up for the 24-25 season. 2 clubs made it to the newly formed Conference League stage, the champions Jagiellonia Białystok and 3rd place Legia Warsaw. They went on to send shockwaves throughout Europe again, as both finished that league phase in top 10. Jagiellonia got their famous 97th minute win over Copenhagen away, while Legia defeated the likes of Real Betis. What's more, Jagiellonia went past TSC Baćka Topola and Cercle Brugge in the knockouts, going to the quarterfinals, just like Legia Warsaw, who just needed to beat Molde in extra time. But it was that game against Molde that resulted in something huge. Thanks to that win, Poland has finally reached the top 15 of the UEFA Coefficient Rankings. Why is it so important, you ask? UEFA Coefficient Rankings determine the starting qualifying round for each and every team and nation. The higher you go, the later you start your qualifying journey, The more time you have to prepare for the season, the higher chance you have of securing a league stage, and most importantly, you can secure more money. But why the 15th place is so important in particular? Most countries can be represented by 4 clubs in European competitions, with the champions always taking part in the Champions League qualifiers. Unless you're Liechtenstein, then you only get 1 slot in the Conference League. However, if you go 15th or higher, you can delegate 1 more club. The runners-up of the league can also try reaching the stars now, thanks to getting a slot in the Champions League qualifiers. There's even 7 slots for the top 5 nations, but they're so high up they're not relevant to this video. But reaching the top 15 is not the end. This year, all 4 Polish clubs, Lech Poznań, Raków Częstochowa, Jagiellonia Białystok and Legia Warsaw, made it to the Conference League stage, and all of them have a real chance of going to the knockouts. This will provide a huge points boost to the Coefficient Rankings, which makes Poland fight for a slot in the top 12 or even top 10 of Europe, and that's even more massive. I'll just show you the starting qualifying crowd for each place from 9th to 15th, and you'll know what Poland is playing for. And as we're here, how far do you think each club will go in the Conference League this year? Let me know in the comments, and as you're on the way there, you can also subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Continuous European success also caught the eye of the investors, both local and abroad, and plenty of them have quite the finances. If you watched the video from a year before, you probably already know the names such as Zbigniew Jakubas, who owns Motor Lublin, Michał Świerczewski from Raków Częstochowa, or, though he's not the owner but still provides a major contribution to the club on and off the pitch, Lukas Podolski and Górnik Zabrze. But more people felt the chance and joined the party. Only in 2025, a billionaire Robert Dobrzycki became the owner of Widzew Łódź, looking forward to bringing back the golden age to the club. Alex Haditagi, the Canadian-Iranian entrepreneur, took charge of Pogoń Szczecin. You can find out the full details of the takeover on the video on the top right of your screen. We've also seen Łukasz Maciejczyk becoming a new owner of Korona Kielce, and an American entrepreneur of Polish descent, Robert Platek, bought a majority stake at Cracovia. The 5th European slot opened a huge opportunity for new clubs, and started a massive fight over it. Outside of Legia Warsaw, Lech Poznań, Jagiellonia and Raków, or maybe not considering their start to the season, fighting for the title, we've got a multitude of clubs that made huge transfer moves this window, in hopes they will claim that 5th European place. We're talking Widzew Łódź, Korona Kielce, Górnik Zabrze, Pogoń Szczecin, Cracovia, Motor Lublin, and even some teams from the second tier, Wisła Kraków, Śląsk Wrocław or Wieczysta Kraków, are not out of the question with a potential Polish Cup win. The recent European success also makes the league a better prospect for the players of any kind. Whether you are a young talent looking for some playing time, or a Polish international who's looking for a chance to promote his name a bit more, or just an outright decent player looking for a new challenge, the Ekstraklasa seems to be a better and better destination, which will allow you to play in the competitive league, possibly play in Europe, and find a way to or back to the top 7 leagues again. Players who we didn't even think could join the Polish league 5 years ago are doing it now. And so, here comes the fun part. To prove all the points I talked about in this video, I'll name some of the most important transfers of this summer, both outgoing and incoming. For the first time in years, Polish clubs spent more on transfers than they received. The Polish league also spent the most money ever. I still had to limit myself not to mention every single transfer, so I decided to sort them by the clubs they've joined. And I'm starting with the category of others, which is basically the bottom half of the league. Starting with Mateusz Kowalczyk, a 21-year-old defensive midfielder who made his move from Brøndby in Denmark to GKS Katowice permanent for just €1 million. Newly promoted Wisła Płock secured 2 very interesting free signings: a former Polish international and the centre-back Marcin Kamiński from Schalke in the second Bundesliga, and a Portuguese right wing-back Tomas Tavares, who has Champions League experience with Benfica under his belt. Fellow promoted team, Termalika Nieciecza, secured 2 players from Universitatea Cluj in Romania, a club that finished 4th in the Romanian league and qualified for the Conference League qualifiers. We're talking about Lucas Massoero, an Argentinian centre-back, and Radu Boboc, a Romanian right wing-back. Piast Gliwice signed a winger Jason Lokilo from CSKA Sofia on a free, and Radomir Radom brought in Depu and Ibrahima Kamara from Portuguese clubs, and also completed a return of Mauri Desh, who last played for St. Pauli. Lechia Gdańsk, despite their financial troubles discussed in a separate video, still went on to sign Dawid Kurminowski, a former Slovak league top scorer, for $500,000 from Zagłębie Lubin. And also, they made a transfer from the Slovak league itself. Matusz Wojtko, a left back from Slovan Bratislava, who played in the Champions League last season. Motor Lublin secured a €400,000 transfer of Karol Czubak, who comes from Kortrijk in the second Belgian league. And now, it's time for the clubs that stole most of the show, starting out with Korona Kielce. They mostly went on to find new players in Southern Europe. The Yellow and Reds brought in Vladimir Nikolov, a striker from Slavia Sofia, and Viktor Popov, a right wing-back from Chernomore Varna. They also signed Antonin, a striker from the Spanish 3rd division, but the biggest deals came from Slovenia. Stepan Davidovic, a 20-year-old Croatian centre-back, joined from Radomlje for $500,000, and Tamar Svetlin joined from NK Celje, the Conference League quarter-finalists last season. The fee for the defensive midfielder? €800,000. Corona could make those signings thanks to the sale of Mariusz Fornalczyk, a 22-year-old left-winger who joined Widzew Łódź after a promising round in Kielce. The fee? €1.5 million, and a new record in terms of transfers within the league, which was quickly beaten, but we'll talk about it later in the video. But he's not the only transfer that stole headlines in Łódź. There's also Samuel Akere, a Nigerian winger from Botev Plovdiv, who came for €750,000. Stelios Andrew, a centre-back who last played in Royal Charleroi in Belgium, joined for €1.3 million. There's also Veljko Ilic, a goalkeeper from Bačka Topola, Ricardo Visus, who came from Real Betis and last played for Almer City in the Netherlands on loan, or Lindon Selahi, from Croatian champions Rijeka. And let me tell you something else. Widzew was also rumored to actively try to sign the Polish internationals Dawid Kownacki or Tymoteusz Puchacz, or Sambu Sumano from Lorient in Ligue 1. The confirmed transfer though is a forward Andy Zakiri, who joins the club on a deadline day for a €2 million fee, Widzew's record from Genk. The team from Central Poland is becoming increasingly ambitious, and though it's probably not this season, we may see them at least fighting for European qualification in the next couple of seasons. Górnik Zabrze focused on what they do best, looking for cheap or free signings and moving them on for much more. Best example though comes from the academy. Dominik Sarapata, a 17-year-old centre-back who went to Copenhagen for €4 million. For a total of just €860,000, Górnik signed Joniu Go, an attacking midfielder from Partizan Belgrade, Roberto Massimo, a right winger from Greuther Fürth in the 2nd Bundesliga, and Maksymilian Pingot, a centre-back from Lech Poznań. But the free signings, I believe, can contribute even more. I'm talking about the central midfielder Jarosław Kubicki and the right-back Michał Saczek from Jagiellonia Białystok, though the latter is injured, as well as a winger Maksym Chłań from Lechia Gdańsk. Cracovia, the first ever Polish champions, are quietly rebuilding to get back to the Polish league title one step at a time. This window, they sold Filip Ruska to Sturm Graz for €2 million and Virgil Gica to Hanover for €1 million. This allowed them to sign two players for €500,000 each. Brahim Traore from SM Köln and Filip Stojlikovic from Darmstadt, who already scored 5 goals in 7 games. They also completed a huge free transfer of Mateusz Klich, a former Polish international who once played in Leeds United. But the biggest signing, I believe, is the manager, a Slovenian Luka Elšner, who most recently managed Stade Rim. Pogoń Szczecin, under the new owner Alex Haditagi, did not waste time as well, though it took almost the entire window to solve the saga with Eftimis Koulouris, last season's top scorer, and they transferred to Saudi Arabia. It was finally resolved with a €4 million fee, but the new arrivals would join even without it. We're talking Marian Huja, a centre-back from Petrol in Romania for 300,000, Musa Juvara, a winger who joined from Vejle in Denmark for almost $1 million, Raymond Molnar, a forward from NTK Budapest for $1.5 million, and absolutely the biggest transfer in northwestern Poland. English attacking midfielder Sam Greenwood leaves Leeds United and joins Pogoń Szczecin for a fee of $2 million and reportedly the highest wage in the league. Last season, he played for Preston North End, scoring 7 goals and getting 3 assists. Raków Częstochowa, the last season's runners-up, may have had a terrible start to the season in the league, but it didn't stop them from quickly breaking Widzew's transfer record between the Ekstraklasa clubs. That's thanks to the signing of a winger Tomasz Pieńko from Zagłębie Lubin. Reports claim the fee of €1.8 million, but that's not the end. Raków spent a total of €9 million this window. On the list, there's also Jonathan Braut-Brunes, who became a permanent player for €2 million. There are also 2 Polish defensive midfielders, Karol Struski and Oskar Repka, who joined for €1 million and $700,000 respectively, though the former was not registered for the Conference League for some reason. Alongside them, there are also 2 defensive midfielders from abroad, Petr Barat from Ferencváros in Hungary for $1 million and Marko Bulat from Dinamo Zagreb for $800,000. And last but not least, a loan of Ima Trondic from Keln and $1.5 million for a talented Serbian winger Bogdan Mircetic from Radnički in 1923. The most recent champions, Lech Poznań, knew they had to use the momentum to sign better players in order to have a better chance in Europe, and they did. They beat their own transfer record on Yannick Agdero, who's a striker who can finally compete with a star Mikael Ishak. He joined from Halmstad's BK in Sweden for €2.3 million, making it Lech Poznań's transfer record. Another big signing is an attacking midfielder Pablo Rodriguez from Lecce for €1.2 million, a replacement for Afonso Sousa, who went to Samsunspor in Turkey for €3.5 million. Lech also brought in Mateusz Skrzypczak from Jagiellonia, who returned to his hometown club for 900,000. Leo Bengtsson from Aris Limassol and João Moutinho from Spezia, though he spent last season in Jagiellonia on a loan, will strengthen the left side for a total of 1.3 million. But Lech also did well on the loan market, with Luis Palma joining from Celtic, Timothy Uma from Slavia Prague, and Taofik Ismail from Górnik Zabrze. And last but not least, Robert Gumny, a right back, returned to his hometown club. He joined for free after playing over 100 matches in the Bundesliga. It's quite surprising that despite all of the competition racing on the market, Jagiellonia Białystok only spent €500,000 in total. That's just part of their approach. They are not looking forward to €1 million deals and rather look for players who they can sign for cheap. That's what they did. The highlights being a loan of Bartłomiej Wdowik, a free-kick specialist from Braga, Dimitris Railis for a 190k from Herenveen, or Sergio Lozano on a free from Levante, where he regularly came from the bench in La Liga 2 with 40 appearances. However, I think that without a doubt, the winners of this transfer window are Legia Warsaw, a team that last season barely qualified for Europe by winning the Polish Cup, but also went to the Conference League quarter-final. This result meant that the new director of football, a former Polish international who already served in this role, Michał Żewłakow, did not renew a contract with the manager Gonzalo Feio and replaced him with former Romanian national team manager Eduard Iordanescu. After that, he made plenty of new deals, helped by last-minute advancement to the Conference League stage, and also 3 massive sales. A talented centre-back who went to AS Roma for over €6 million, Maxi Oyedele, who went to Strasbourg in France, also for 6 million, but Legia only got 60% of it, the other 40 went to Manchester United, and Ryoya Morishita, who joined Blackburn for just over 2 million. With additional about 13 million euros in their hands, Żewłakow decided to break the bank, and quite literally. Mileta Rajovic joined from Watford in the Championship and most recently played for Brentby on loan. The Danish striker joined for 3 million euros, breaking the Ekstraklasa record for an incoming transfer, and already paid it off by scoring a winning goal against Hibernia in the Conference League playoff. His competition for the position will be Antonio Ciolak, who returns to Poland from Spezia in Serie B. Though I must say something's wrong about this transfer. I don't exactly know what, but maybe this clip will tell you more. Legia also made some loan deals, Noach Weishaupt from Freiburg and Ermar Krasniki from Sparta Prague, as well as a number of free signings. Enrique Arejol, a 20-year-old defensive midfielder from Sporting Lisbon's B team, and Petar Stojanovic, a right-back who's a regular Slovenia international from Empoli. But that was just the start. Only in this window, Legia Warsaw signed 4 Polish internationals. Arkadiusz Reca, a left-back on a free from Spezia, Damian Szymański, a central midfielder from AEK Athens for 1.2 million, Kamil Piątkowski, a centre-back who joined from Red Bull Salzburg for 2 million, and probably the biggest signing of this window in Poland, Kacper Urbański from Bologna. At just 20 years old, he came to play for Legia, looking forward to playing on a regular basis in the league and Europe, and later on, get another chance in the top leagues. We have seen the best transfer window in the history of the Polish league, and it looks like the 5th European slot is exactly what this league needed to take more risks on the transfer market. Who do you think is going to win the league this year, and who is going to qualify for Europe? Let me know in the comments down below. Here's the current standings, and I've also highlighted the 4 teams who are playing in the Conference League stage this season. I'm honestly looking forward to the next couple of years in the Polish league. Even 5 or 6 years ago, I was seeing the articles with statistics that were showing Ekstraklasa is around 10th best league in Europe, and it finally shows now. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If that's the case, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, I'll be very grateful for that. And if you want to find out how did Ekstraklasa grow as a league in the first place, check out the video that is on your screen right now.